3 words. That's all it takes to completely freeze a man and shut down his brain without him even knowing what just happened. Let that sink in. You can say these 3 words calmly, sweetly, even playfully, and watch him go from relaxed to panicking in seconds. The crazy part? Most women use these words thinking they're just saying what they need or starting a normal conversation. They have no idea they just set off a panic button in his head. And here's what nobody tells you. Men don't freeze because they don't care. They freeze because those 3 words hit the one fear every man has but will never say out loud. The fear that he's not enough. That no matter what he does, no matter how hard he tries, he's messing up the one thing he can't mess up. Making you happy. Most people think talking is about being clear. Just tell him what you want. Be honest. Say what's on your mind. That's terrible advice because some words don't just communicate, they explode. These 3 words aren't just information. They're a bomb. And by the time you see what you set off, his walls are already up. He's already defending himself. And the conversation you wanted to have is already dead. This isn't about him being difficult. This isn't about him not listening. This is about you accidentally pressing a button that makes his entire system think he's about to lose something he can't afford to lose. You. The 3 words, we need to talk. That's it. 4 syllables that make grown men feel like they're about to get fired from a job they didn't know they were bad at. And here's the part that makes it worse. You probably said it without thinking twice. You might have even said it about something small, something that had nothing to do with the relationship at all. Doesn't matter. His brain doesn't hear the words, it hears the threat. Because those words have never, not once in his entire life, and been followed by good news. Nobody says we need to talk before telling him he won the lottery. Nobody says it before complimenting him. Those words only show up when something's wrong, when someone's unhappy, when he's about to hear that he failed somehow. And men are wired to solve problems, not sit in them. So the second you say we need to talk, his mind starts racing. What did I do? What did I forget? Is she leaving? Is this about last week? Did I say something wrong? And while he's spiraling inside trying to figure out what went wrong and how to fix it, you're watching him shut down. You're seeing him go quiet, stiff, defensive, and you think he doesn't care. He cares so much it's breaking him. He just doesn't know how to show it without looking. That's the freeze. It's not indifference, it's overload. There are 3 things happening in his head the moment those words leave your mouth. And if you don't understand all 3, you'll keep thinking the problem is him. It's not. It's the wiring. Number 1, his brain goes straight into threat mode. When you say we need to talk, a man's brain doesn't process it like an invitation to connect. It processes it like a warning. Something bad is coming. And his whole system shifts into defense. Not because he's trying to be difficult, but because that's what male biology does under perceived threat. Fight, flight, or freeze. Most men can't fight you. They don't want to run from you. So they freeze. They go stiff. They go quiet. They shut down emotionally because their brain is trying to protect them from whatever's about to happen. And here's the part women miss. You think silence means he doesn't care. It doesn't. Silence means he cares so much that his system can't handle the flood of emotions, so it shuts them off completely just to survive the conversation. This is why you can't have the deep talk you wanted. He's not in connection mode anymore. He's in survival mode. His job now isn't to understand you. His job is to make it through this without losing you, without saying the wrong thing, without making it worse. And because he's focused on defense, he's not actually hearing what you're saying. He's scanning for danger. He's looking for clues about how bad this is. He's calculating his next move. You're trying to share something. He's trying not to drown. That's not a conversation. That's a mismatch. And it happens every single time those 3 words come out before he's ready. Now here's where it gets tricky. You didn't mean to scare him. You just wanted to talk. Maybe about plans for the weekend, maybe about something that's been bothering you, maybe about the future. Doesn't matter. The phrase, we need to talk, doesn't give context. It just gives dread. Because men have been trained by every relationship they've ever had, every breakup, every disappointment, that those words mean trouble. It's pattern recognition. And once the pattern gets triggered, logic doesn't matter anymore. You can follow up with, it's not a big deal, all you want. Too late. His system already decided this is a big deal, and now he's bracing for impact. Here's the truth. Most women don't connect. Men don't fear conversations. They fear failure. And we need to talk sounds like you're about to tell him he failed. That's why he freezes. Not because he doesn't want to hear you, because he's terrified of what you're about to say. That fear doesn't make him weak. It makes him human. But if you don't know that's what's happening, you'll misread his shutdown as not caring. And that misread kills more relationships than the actual issues you wanted to talk about. Number 2, he immediately starts trying to fix a problem he doesn't understand yet. Men are wired to solve. That's not toxic. That's not dismissive. That's biology meeting social conditioning. From the time he was young, he learned that his value comes from what he can do, what he can fix, what he can provide. So when you say we need to talk, his brain doesn't hear let's connect. It hears there's a problem and you need to solve it. And now he's in fix-it mode before you've even said what the issue is. That's the disconnect. You want to be heard. He wants to solve it. You're not even having the same conversation. Here's what that looks like in real time. You say, we need to talk. He freezes for a second. Then he asks, about what? Not because he's being defensive, because he's trying to assess the situation. How bad is this? What do I need to fix? Can I fix it right now? And if you say something vague like us or things have been off lately, his panic doubles because now the problem is big and unclear, which means he can't fix it fast. He can't make a plan. He can't do the one thing that makes him feel like he has control. And men without a clear path to fixing the problem feel useless. That feeling, that helplessness, it's unbearable. So he shuts down even more, not because he's avoiding you, because he's drowning in the uncertainty of not knowing how to make this better. Women process by talking, men process by doing. So when you need to talk without a clear solution in mind, he doesn't know what his role is. He doesn't know if he's supposed to listen, apologize, defend himself, or come up with an answer. And because he doesn't know, he defaults to the safest option. Say as little as possible. Don't make it worse. Let her talk and hope she tells him what to do. That's not emotional intelligence. That's survival strategy. And it looks like he's checked out. But he's not. He's just lost. He's waiting for you to tell him what the problem is so he can figure out how to solve it. But if you're just trying to share how you feel, not ask him to fix anything, he doesn't have a framework for that, and the confusion makes him freeze harder. Here's the line most women never connect. When he goes quiet, he's not ignoring you. He's trying not to fail you. And the pressure of not knowing what you need makes him shut down completely. That's not indifference, that's overwhelm. Number 3, he thinks we need to talk means the relationship is in danger. This is the big one, the one more. Most women don't realize they're communicating. When you say we need to talk, especially if it's said seriously or with any kind of weight, a man's brain jumps to the worst possible outcome. She's unhappy. She's reconsidering this. She's about to leave. It doesn't matter if that's not what you meant. It's what he hears. Because in his experience, serious conversations that start with we need to talk don't end with everything being fine. They end with change. And change in relationships usually means loss. Men don't talk about this openly, but most of them walk around with a low-level fear that the woman they love is going to wake up one day and realize she can do better. That fear sits quietly in the background until something triggers it. And we need to talk is the ultimate trigger. Now, he's not just worried about what you're going to say, he's worried about losing you completely. And that fear makes him act in ways that seem cold or distant, but really he's just trying to protect himself from the pain he thinks is coming. He's already imagining the breakup. He's already playing out the worst-case scenario. And while he's doing that, you're trying to tell him something that probably has nothing to do with breaking up. This is where the disconnect becomes dangerous. You're trying to talk about feelings, needs, something you want to improve. He's hearing, this relationship might be over. And because he's in that headspace, everything you say gets filtered through that lens. You say, I feel like we're not connecting lately. He hears, I'm not happy and I'm thinking about leaving. You say, I need more from you emotionally. He hears, you're failing me and I'm losing interest. It's not that he's not listening. It's that his fear is translating your words into something much scarier than what you actually said. And once his fear takes over, there's no real conversation happening anymore. There's just him trying to keep you from walking away That's why he might get defensive. That's why he might say everything's fine when it's clearly not. That's why he might try to fix things immediately without actually hearing what you said. He's not dismissing you. He's terrified. And terrified people don't communicate well. They protect, they defend, they try to make the threat go away as fast as possible. And if the threat is losing you, he'll do or say whatever he thinks will make you stay, even if that means shutting down the exact conversation you were trying to have. Here's the truth that nobody wants to say out loud. We need to talk doesn't start conversations. It ends them before they begin. Because by the time you get to the actual issue, he's already spent all his emotional energy preparing for disaster. He's not present. He's not open. He's not ready to connect. He's just trying to survive. And you can't have a real conversation with someone who's in survival mode. You just can't. Now, here's where women make the biggest mistake. They think the solution is to never bring anything up, to keep everything light, to avoid serious talks altogether. That's not the answer either, because real relationships require real conversations. The issue isn't that you need to talk. The issue is how you start the talk. Those 3 words set the tone before you even say what's actually on your mind. And the tone is panic. So if you want him to actually hear you, if you want him to stay open instead of shutting down, you need to change your approach completely. Instead of, we need to talk, try something that doesn't sound like a threat. Hey, can I share something with you? That's softer. That's an invitation, not a warning. Or, I've been thinking about something and I'd love your perspective. Now you're bringing him in as a partner, not setting him up as the problem. Or if it's something bigger, give him context first. I want to talk about us, but I need you to know I'm not upset and this isn't about anything being wrong. I just want us to be even better. Now he knows he's not in danger. Now his brain can relax enough to actually listen. The wording matters. The tone matters, the setup matters, because you're not just trying to get information across, you're trying to keep his nervous system calm enough to receive it. And we need to talk does the opposite. It spikes his stress, shuts down his ability to connect, and turns a conversation into a confrontation before you've even said what you wanted to say. That's not about him being difficult. That's about you accidentally triggering a response you didn't mean to trigger. Here's what most women don't realize. Men want to make you happy. That's not a cliche. That's hardwired. A man's sense of worth in a relationship is directly tied to whether or not he feels like he's succeeding at making you happy. When he thinks he's succeeding, he's confident, open, generous. When he thinks he's failing, he shuts down, pulls back, gets defensive. And we need to talk makes him feel like he's failing before you've even told him what's wrong. That's why he freezes. Because in his mind, you're about to confirm his worst fear, that he's not enough. So if you want him to stay present, if you want him to actually engage instead of shutting down, you have to approach conversations in a way that doesn't make him feel like he's already lost. That doesn't mean you sugarcoat everything. That doesn't mean you avoid hard topics. It just means you don't lead with the phrase that makes his brain think the relationship is in danger. Because once his brain goes there, you've lost him. And getting him back takes 10 times more effort than just starting the conversation differently in the first place. Now let's talk about what happens after you've already said it, because maybe you didn't know this before. Maybe you've already used those 3 words and watched him shut down, and now you're wondering how to fix it. Here's the reality. Once those words are out, you can't unsay them. His system already reacted, but you can recover. The key is what you do next. If you follow, we need to talk with silence or with never mind, you make it worse, because now he's stuck in panic mode with no resolution. His brain is screaming, what's wrong? And you're giving him nothing to work with. That's torture for a man. Don't do that. Instead, follow it up immediately with context. We need to talk. I've been thinking about our vacation plans, and I want to make sure we're on the same page. Now he knows it's not a breakup. Now he knows there's something specific he can engage with. Or, we need to talk. I need your help figuring something out because I trust your opinion. Now you've reframed it from threat to partnership. You've taken the panic out of it by giving him a clear picture of what this conversation is actually about. And once he knows it's not about him failing or the relationship ending, he can relax enough to actually be present. Here's the shift most women need to make. Stop thinking about conversations as just getting your feelings out. Start thinking about them as creating a space where both of you can actually connect. And connection doesn't happen when one person is in threat mode. It happens when both people feel safe enough to be honest. We need to talk doesn't create safety. It creates fear, and fear kills connection every single time. That's why the best communicators don't rely on those three words. They've learned that how you start a conversation determines whether it's going to be productive or destructive. They've learned that men need context, clarity, and reassurance before they can engage deeply. And they've learned that a man who feels safe is a man who will actually listen, actually care, actually try to meet you where you are. But a man who feels threatened will only protect himself, and you can't blame him for that. You can only stop triggering it. Here's the part that changes everything. Men don't shut down because they don't love you. They shut down because they love you so much that the idea of losing you or failing you is unbearable. That freeze, you see, that's not apathy. That's fear. And once you understand that, you stop taking his reaction personally. You stop thinking he doesn't care. You start seeing it for what it actually is. A man trying to hold on to something he's terrified of losing. So what do these three words actually reveal? They reveal that most of us don't know how to start hard conversations without making the other person defensive. They reveal that men and women process stress completely differently. And they reveal that the way you say something matters just as much as what you're actually saying. Words aren't neutral, they carry weight. And some words carry so much weight that they crush the conversation before it even begins. If you've been frustrated that he shuts down every time you try to talk about something important, this is why. It's not that he doesn't want to hear you. It's that the way you're starting the conversation is making him think he's about to lose you. And once that fear kicks in, logic goes out the window. He's not hearing your words anymore. He's hearing his own panic. And panic doesn't listen. It just reacts. Here's the truth most women avoid. You have more control over how these conversations go than you think. Not control over him, control over the environment you're creating. If you create an environment of safety, clarity, and partnership, he'll show up differently. If you create an environment of fear, uncertainty, and threat, he'll shut down every time. And we need to talk creates the second environment, not the first. That's not his fault. That's just how those words land. So if you want real conversations, if you want him to actually open up instead of freezing, you have to retire that phrase completely. Replace it with something that invites instead of warns, something that reassures instead of scares, something that makes him feel like you're on the same team instead of like he's about to get benched. Because the goal isn't to win the conversation, the goal is to actually connect. And connection requires both people to feel safe enough to be vulnerable. The freeze you see in him isn't resistance, it's protection. He's protecting himself from a pain he thinks is coming. And the more you understand that, the more you can approach him in ways that don't trigger that response. It's not about walking on eggshells. It's about being strategic with your words so they actually land the way you want them to. Because right now, we need to talk is landing like a grenade. And you can't have a meaningful conversation in the middle of an explosion. What all of this is down to is one simple shift. Stop using words that make him think he's failing. Start using words that make him feel like he's partnering. Men don't run from hard conversations. They run from the feeling that they're not enough. And we need to talk triggers that feeling faster than anything else you could say. So if you want him to stay open, if you want him to actually engage, if you want the relationship to grow instead of stall, you have to change how you invite him into those conversations. This isn't about protecting his ego. This isn't about making him feel comfortable when he should be challenged. This is about understanding that you can't have a real conversation with someone whose brain is in shutdown mode. And those three words shut him down every single time. Not because he's weak, not because he doesn't care, but because every man has been conditioned to hear those words as a warning that something he values is about to be taken away. If there's one thing you take from this, it's this. Words create worlds. And the world you create with "we need to talk" is one where he's already losing before the conversation even starts. That's not the world you want to build. You want a world where he feels safe enough to hear you, strong enough to meet you, and secure enough to actually change. And that world starts with how you choose to begin. So stop using the 3 words that freeze him. Start using words that free him. Words that invite him in instead of pushing him into defense. Words that make him feel like your partner instead of your problem. Because the conversation you actually want to have can only happen when he's present. And he can't be present when he's busy trying to survive what he thinks is coming.